Up next, we bring you our weekly focus on events beyond Korea, and today we turn to neighboring Japan. For more, I have Hiroaki Wada live on the line. Hiroaki, it's a pleasure to see you again.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
Right, Hiroaki, I hear signs of a rebound in COVID-19 infections are putting a slight damper on the cherry blossom season there in Japan. Let's start with the COVID-19 situation there.
Yeah, a little bit of worries, as you mentioned. The number of new cases was going down since early February, but the trend kind of changed in late March, and it's creeping up since then. And as you mentioned, Japan was going through a cherry blossom season. The flowers are very popular here, and people are fed up with the restrictions, so a large number of people went out to see the blossoms. So I'm afraid that we're going to see more infections later this month. The number of deaths, hospitalization, the number of deaths, serious cases are still going down, which is a good sign, but still worrisome. And Prime Minister Kishida wants to carve a seventh wave in Japan because we're having a upper house parliamentary elections in July. Getting rules on the COVID-19 is not a good sign for voters, so he wants to control it and trying to accelerate second booster shots to show the voters that he's doing his job properly.
Right. Hiroaki, meanwhile, Tokyo is hosting an art exhibition that is causing quite a bit of controversy for featuring works, including the Comfort Women statue. Could you tell us a bit more about this particular event?
Right. This one has attracted a lot of criticisms from nationalists. In the past 2 to 3 years ago, there was an exhibition featuring the Comfort Woman statue, and the event had to be cancelled because of a strong opposition. And this time around, a similar situation happened. There are supporters too, and the event is pretty popular. All the reservations have been filled up until today, which is the last day of the exhibition. But at the same time, nationalists came to near the venue and used soundtracks to blare out slogans against the exhibition. So police have to stay on guard to protect the exhibition and visitors. But there are also people who are supportive of the show, and they stood near the entrance to the venue and held up some signs showing the support for it.
Right, I see.
And yeah, this show is going to go around the nation, and I expect similar reactions in the future.
Right. Also on the subject of controversy, Hiroaki, the contents of history textbooks to be adopted by Japanese high schools starting next year are causing a bit of contention between Seoul and Tokyo, as authorities here in the country believe efforts have been made to perhaps whitewash wartime atrocities. What has been the response over there in Japan?
Well, the government, as you pointed out, the government checks the contents of textbooks used at schools. And this time, government checkers complained to some of the expressions in those textbooks, saying that they are not in line with government positions on those issues. And one of them was the island between Japan and South Korea, the one we call Takeshima, and the one you call Dokdo. And one of the textbooks said that it is Japan's own territory, and the checkers didn't like the expression and said that they should use stronger expression, something like the island is Japan's integral and inherent territory, meaning that the island never belonged to other countries. And we also had some cases of government checkers recommending more neutral expressions about South Korean rebels in Japanese factories during World War II. And some of the publishers try to avoid change the expression in accordance with the government's recommendation and change expression like forced labor to, mobilization or recruitment.
I see. Hiroaki, because we have a lack of time, I'm going to go on the diplomatic front then.
Okay.
Against that backdrop of the historical disputes between Seoul and Tokyo, what are prospects there in Japan about the future ties of Seoul and Tokyo as the incoming Yoon administration seeks to take office in May?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really see a lot of enthusiasm, at least among the Japanese public, about seeing a better relation with South Korea. I mean, of course, we want better relations, but expectation levels are pretty low, I would say. And right now, I think we are waiting for the new South Korean leader and his government to make clear stance on how they are going to deal with Japan. So it's kind of wait and see attitude. And last year, the government did opinion survey, and the percentage of people who feel close to South Korea was just 1/3 of the total. So that kind of emotion may linger for the foreseeable future unless there's major change in both sides policy. But South Korean culture is pretty popular in Japan. That's a surprising thing. So, people in their late teens and 20s or women feel very close to South Korea. And that is a big, among young people, the popularity is like 60%. 60% people feel close to South Korea.
Right.
But, South Korea is not really popular among men and those in their 60s and 70s, unfortunately.
But hopefully we can make most of the favorable opinion perhaps to improve bilateral ties in the near future. All right, Hiroaki, as always, thank you very much for the latest with regard to issues in Japan.
Thank you.